Welcome to another interview edition of the Electric Circus Radio Show right here at MetalMessiahRadio.com. We are your metal music messiah. Tonight I got a special guest with me. We have the founding member and guitarist Nige Rockett of UK thrashers Onslaught. They have a new album called Generation Antichrist to be released August the 7th. 2020 via AFM Records. Welcome, Nige, to the Electric Circus Radio Show here at MetalMessiahRadio.com. How are you doing?
I'm good, brother. Thanks. And you?
Pretty good. It's a pleasure and an honor having you on. So tell us how the band got started in the beginning.
I just started the band as a hardcore punk fan, basically. Me and my buddy who formed the band Onslaught, a guy called Paul Hill, we used to follow bands like Discharge, GBH and The Exploited all around the UK, you know, when we were 16, sleeping rough, getting guest passes into the shows, having a lot of fun and causing a lot of chaos. But it kind of came, it's like, we followed all these bands around for like a year, 18 months, and it's like, why are we doing this? If we love doing this so much, why don't we form a band? And Paul said, well, there's one slight problem, we can't play. So let's go learn, which we did. And within 6 months, we put Onslaught together, took the musicianship very seriously, put a lot of hard work into that, you know. And got the band up and running, and worked our asses off learning the instruments properly, and started to write our own songs, and that's how it all began, really, just for our love of live shows.
Yes, I was reading your Wikipedia page, and you got a lot of former members that was in the band. Do you still talk to any of them and keep in contact with them here in 2020?
Yeah, so I mean, Paul. The first two guys, Paul and Jay Spoke, who was the first vocalist in the band, they both live in Australia now, so we don't really have a lot of contact, only the odd occasional email or whatever. But now, I mean, things move on. You speak to some guys, one of our vocalists is in Canada, so everybody seems to be spread out a bit. But no, it's just not kind of something we do. I mean, we've had fallouts with a few people along the way, so you don't tend to keep in contact with them, but shit happens, you know. So no, we move on. I mean, it's a bizarre thing that I've discussed a lot lately within thrash metal bands. Have a lot of lineup changes. Ourselves in particular, if you look at Anthrax, Exodus, Testament, Megadeth, Annihilator, we've had probably like 130 members between us over the years. So it's kind of crazy, and I really don't know why.
I read that Onslaught was active from 1982 to 1991 and again since 2005. You took some time off and had reunions. What made you guys want to come back and reunite as a band?
It was, I mean, when we split in 91, I vowed that was it, that was the end. But you should never say never. And I think it came around in about 2004. Something came to the light that our first two albums, Power from Hell and The Force, have been re-released. So you obviously kind of do some investigation into that, which we did. And we found out in those 2 years that the records had sold phenomenal amounts, you know. So hang on, you start looking up the name Onslaught back on the internet, because it was something that was gone for me. But then this kicks your interest again, you know. So we started looking up, and there was like lots of people talking about Onslaught on the net at the time. To add with all the record sales that we discovered had been going on, it was like, wow, this is very interesting. And the way things ended with us in '91, that it was a painful end for me, and something I wanted to put right. So it was kind of the perfect opportunity to go back and right all those wrongs that I felt had happened before. So that was the kind of reason we looked at getting back together. There was a lot of interest in the band, and as I said, we sold a lot of records. So why not give it another crack? The thrash metal was having a early resurgence at that point. So let's help that movement and get back together and see what comes of it, which we did, and it's been a fantastic roller coaster ever since.
Right, and we are very happy that you did. You have a reunion, and you're here back in 2020. Okay, switching gears a little bit here. The new album, Generation Antichrist, was mixed by Grammy Award-winning producer Daniel Bergstrand. Please tell us about him, and how did you get involved with him as the producer on this great album?
Well, thanks for the comments, Brett. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, with every Onslaught album, we always look at it with a completely different approach to its predecessor, you know. So we never want two albums to sound the same in any way. So it's always cool to get a different mix guy or a different producer involved with each record. So we kind of looked at the approach we wanted to take, which was a kind of back to roots vibe with the album, looking at our early influences as opposed to going even more technical like the Sound of Violence and Six albums were. Right. So I'd looked at Daniel's stuff. I'd loved what he'd done with some of the bands he'd worked with. And he'd never worked with a thrash band as far as I was aware. So I really thought he could bring something extra to the table for us. And man, he certainly did that. He's an Onslaught fan anyway, which is very cool. So it means he puts a lot of his heart into that work, you know. But what an incredible job. Well, I mean, when we spoke first, and he said, "Nige, what do you want for me to do with this album?" And I said, "Well, basically, can you make us one of the most brutal sounding thrash records ever?" And he said, "Yeah, I can give it a shot for sure." Which he has. I personally think he's done an incredible job. The album sounds so aggressive, but it has so much clarity, and I can just take my hat off to him. He's done an amazing job.
Excellent. Generation Antichrist will be the first album to feature Onslaught vocalist Dave Garnett, who has recently replaced long-term frontman J0KeR's. Please tell us about it and how you guys got Dave in the band, and what was it all about getting Dave in the band? What do you think Dave improves for the band, being in the band as a new guy?
Well, it had become apparent for a while that Cy was struggling with touring. He wasn't really enjoying touring like he used to, you know, for whatever reason it may be. So when we got back off we did basically over a 4-year stint of touring from 2013 up until September 2018. So that was a lot of touring. We played a lot of shows. We went to all around the world twice. And Cy was struggling with that, you know. It's hard work. So it kind of became apparent that we were possibly going to need a new vocalist. So we kind of put the feelers out, and in February this year, we were due to play a festival in Sweden, and Cy became unavailable for that. So we asked Dave, a friend of ours for many years now, if he was willing to come in and help us out for this one show on vocals. And man, what a job he did. He had 2 weeks notice, and he was absolutely incredible. He really nailed it, the old material in particular, which is very important. We've got to get that right for the older fans, you know, who love the Power from Hell and the Force albums. That's really important that sounds right when we play live. So he nailed it perfectly. So when we got back, it kind of the situation with Cy kind of cleared itself. We both agreed amicably that we needed to go our separate ways, and that's what we had to do. We asked Dave if he was ready to step into the fold, and as an old school Onslaught fan, which he was, he said, "Yeah, I'm very much up for it." So we said, "Okay, Dave, you've got 3 weeks to learn the whole album, and you're in the studio, which he did. Amazing, absolutely amazing job. He brings, in many ways, him and Cy are kind of similar tonally to their voice. I think Cy has a much thicker voice, but Dave has a more aggressive mid-range to his tone. So I think that just kind of complemented this album in particular, even more so. So absolutely blown away with his performance. We couldn't be happier with him.
Nige, which recording studio did you guys use to record the new offering?
We recorded the guitars and the bass in Bristol. The drums were recorded with Scott Atkins at his studio in England. All this was done in England, and the vocals were recorded in another place in England, which escapes me now. But yeah, we did all the tracking in the UK in separate studios, and then we mixed at Daniel Berg's Strand Studio in Sweden, this dugout studio. So a lot of different studios, but the result was great. I mean, these have been go-to guys we've used over the years. We like to record our drums with Scott Atkins, and I've got my go-to guy for my guitars, who's Chuck Cruz. They're just very comfortable to work with, and for me that's very important, that you're in a relaxed atmosphere when you make these recordings. You know, don't want no pressure on anybody, and it was just a simple process. Everything was recorded in less than 2 weeks. You know, no stress, no drama. It was just a really nice record to make.
You guys signed with AFM Records. What was the process like getting signed with them?
Yeah, that was a kind of weird one, actually, because we were with Candlelight Records for the Kill in Peace album. It was a kind of one album rolling deal, which with options both ways. So the label had an option, the band had an option. But then AFM sort of popped up and asked if we'd like to put a couple of tracks on a compilation that we were doing, which was cool because obviously Germany being the kind of epicenter of heavy metal in Europe, we've always wanted to be involved with a German label, and they came along. We said we agreed to the tracks on the compilation deal, and they offered us also a record contract. They said, "You guys free? We are potentially free if the deal's right." They offered us a great deal, so yeah, I mean, why not go with it? We were a well-established German label, right at the heart of the metal scene. So yeah, I mean, it was a kind of no-brainer for us at the time, and it's been working well. We just extended our contract again with them, so it tells you everything's kind of rosy in the camp, and it's nice. We know everybody at the label on first name personal terms, and I think that's very important, especially after the situations that arose with the band with Polygram Records in the early days. You know?
And congratulations for getting signed with them. That is a great killer, kick-ass record label here in 2020. Who did the cover art for the album?
That's our bass player, Jeff. He does a majority of the artwork. I think he's done the sleeve designs on 4 or 5 of the last 6 records, you know. We got somebody indifferent to do the album cover for 6, but Jeff's done all the artwork for pretty much everything we do. You know, it's cool because we know exactly what we want, so he kind of switches onto that, and rather than take some time discussing and going back and forth with other artists to do it, I think it's best to keep it. It's nice to keep everything in house, you know, because we know exactly what we're doing and exactly what imagery we want for each project. So yeah, he's done a fantastic job, and people are really loving the sleeve. Just people all the time, when's the shirt's coming, so that's cool.
What is the imagery, what's the meaning of the imagery, and what is Generation Antichrist and the songs about? What's the topics and subjects?
Well, I think you'll probably have to ask Jeff a bit more about the imagery on the artwork. Obviously, you see the all-seeing eye in the middle of that, which is one of the tracks on the album. It's a kind of a little politicized with all the Antichrist stuff and and maybe a few references that the bullets representing the wars that go on. And he did try to explain me. There's a few little Illuminati references in there and stuff like that. But it's quite deep, and it went over my head a little bit, to be honest. But the imagery is cool. But as far as the Generation Antichrist thing is, obviously we've had a long history or a battle against religion ourselves as a band. But my take on it and the theme behind this is I look at my kids and their response or reaction or whatever their thoughts on religion, and there are none, basically. They don't get taught it at school anymore in the UK. They've never picked up a Bible, which is cool. They've never sang a hymn and never said a prayer. And they're like ranging from 15 to 25. So that kind of tells you something. So I'd see them as this generation now of anti-Christians. There's no interest in it. Right? It brings nothing to their lives. So why should they deal with all the negatives that religion brings? They have no interest, and none of their friends have any interest. So I see them as the generation of anti-Christians, hence Generation Antichrist.
Please tell us about Onslaught, Bow Down to the Clown's official YouTube video, taken from the new album of yours, Generation Antichrist. The location of that video and who directed it and produced it. It was a lockdown video, so we were kind of limited to what we could do. It was all done in complete social distancing at different times, so none of us were in the same room at the same time. So we had to kind of come up with something that was going to work in that scenario. We couldn't do your traditional kind of performance video, which we didn't really want to do anyway. The thinking behind this video was we wanted to create something that people were going to talk about. Whether they liked it or not, it didn't matter. As long as it got people talking, because all publicity is good publicity. Whether it's bad words or good words, it's publicity and people are talking. So we knew it could be kind of divisive, but that was the whole point, that we make something that people are going to talk about in whichever way they liked. It's a very different video for Onslaught. It's a very different video for thrash metal. But as long as people talk, that's what matters. And the streams on the song show that people are talking. We're getting our figures and Spotify and iTunes and that, and it's off the scale. So people are talking, which is very, very cool. Nice. So it's done its job in that aspect. So the song is quite political, really. Pretty focused on the UK, what's been going on over the last 2 years, but it seemed to have got more relevant with the virus situation. It was kind of more focused on the whole scenario of the UK leaving the European Union, how the British public have been manipulated, lied to, and controlled, basically. But all of a sudden, the virus has taken the song to a whole new level of meaning. Again, we're just being manipulated, lied to, and controlled, and it's just a perfect fit for what's going on, not only in the UK but in the world, all around us. I read that you have an upcoming tour in the works, rescheduled for 2021. Please tell us about that and the dates, and where can we see you guys at coming up in 2021? Well, everything's still kind of in the pipeline at the moment because we lost so many shows this year. We had some amazing festivals in Europe. We had two of the Death Fests in the US. Our tour was being halfway booked with US and Canada. All our visas were in place, our work visas. Our South American tour was in the booking stages, and all of a sudden it's just wiped out, man. So it's like, this is seriously bad news. So it's just a case of trying to reschedule all this now. The two Death Fests are back in for next year, California and Maryland, which is awesome, provided that they go ahead.
it's just a case now of trying to reschedule the US and Canadian tour, which is going to be kind of difficult in the circumstances at the moment. Obviously, we want to get things going, but we have to be very careful with the visa situations, that we don't get all the visas in place and pay for once again, and then the shows get cancelled, because it's a very expensive process. So there's no real definite dates I can give right now, except for the California and Maryland Death Fest, which is rescheduled from this year. So we're working on it hard, and I'm sure everything's going to be fine. But I think it's going to be a few months before we get any definite information on it yet.
All right, let's go back through the beginning in the years when we had a young Nige. How did you get started from the beginning? And who made you want to be a musician? Who are some of your influences you look up to that you were so in and made you say, yeah, music is what I want to do in life?
As I said, as a very early teenager, I was mad into the Sex Pistols and the Clash, you know. So that was the kind of my real introduction to real music. But it wasn't until kind of 1980, 81 where I got the bug that I wanted to play. And there was a band who was basically local to us. The guitarist was lived just down the road from me, and that was a band called the Vice Squad. They were a punk band. They were signed to EMI. They toured the States a few times actually. I was talking to Dave after the show one night, and I told him I wanted to get learning to play guitar and stuff, and he said, "Well, just come down. You only live around the corner. Come down for a coffee, and I'll show you what I know." So we did that on a few times, and that was it. Once I started doing that, I was away. He showed me all the basic chords to play some punk songs, and that was it really. And as I said, Discharge and Motorhead for me were the key influences for Onslaught at the beginning. And I was mad on Ace of Spades album and the No Sleep Till Hammersmith album. So when I had a guitar and I knew the basics, I just sat down every day and went through those two albums until I could play them every note perfect, back to back. You know, and that was how Onslaught started and why Onslaught started, and yeah, Discharge and Motorhead basically, and we've gone back to those influences on this album in certain places, so it's clear for the fans to sort of see where we came from with Generation Antichrist.
Nige, please tell us about the gear you use and the guitar brand you use, and why do you like that brand of guitar so much, and any other Pro Tools you like using in recording.
Yeah, cool, man. I've always, since 1986, I got an endorsement in 1986 with Jackson Charvel. And they were very good to me back in the day, and I think I accumulated about 10 different Charvel guitars, you know, which I fell in love. They were perfect. I loved the necks on them. They just played so good, and that's all I'm playing now. I still got my Charvels. They're fantastic. I've been offered lots of endorsements, but I don't want to take a guitar for free and put it under the bed. You know, that's not fair on the company. I just play my Charvels and I won't change. I think I've got about 4 or 5 of them now, and they're just incredible. I've got an endorsement with Seymour Duncan. I've just put some Blackout Active pickups in for the first time. They're amazing. Such an aggressive tone, but with a passive feel. Amazing pickups. So for live, I'm using the Kemper rack mount preamp, which is absolutely amazing because I can put it in my hand luggage wherever we fly into the world, and just go into the back of, as long as we've got a good amp to go into the back of. I don't do the DI stuff. So as long as there's a Marshall there or an Engel amp where I can go into the effects return, everything's cool. So brilliant piece of kit. Studio-wise, on Generation Antichrist, kind of old school amps. We went through a JCM 900 into 2 Marshall cabs and a PV50 150 into 2 Marshall cabs. All that was combined to make one guitar town, which blew me away. I was really impressed with what Daniel did on that. So yeah, very little effects. I think all I use is an MXR noise gate, and occasionally I'll use the TS9 Cheap Screamer, just for a little bit of extra grunt to the guitar tone. But it's a pretty simple setup, but it sounds so good.
Cool. How are you and the bandmates dealing with the lockdown of the Corona-19 virus lockdown? What are you doing in your spare time? Maybe writing songs or working on music?
Yeah, we have started to put the basics together for some new tracks. As reluctant as I am, because I feel it's a little close to the Generation Antichrist album. I really don't like working on songs that close together. I don't want the Generation Antichrist album to have any influence on the new record, on the next record that comes. But I feel it would be silly not to make progress on getting ideas together, because I think we're going to be sat down for another 6 to 8 months yet without doing anything. So we are going to get a move on writing new material. But I've been lucky in the fact that I've had so much to do in the lockdown period at the moment. We're mixing the album and all the promotional work starting and what have you. So I've not had a chance to get bored, luckily. But now, as the marketing kind of is winding down and the album's out in 2 weeks' time, I guess writing's going to become priority, because we haven't been together as a band playing since February. So I think we're going to really need to get some rehearsals going just to keep the rust away.
What do you do outside of being in the band to support yourself, like a job and family?
I run a construction company. It's something I did before the band. My family always worked in construction, so I was always kind of around that kind of scene when I was a young kid from the earliest age, go to work with my dad or go to work with my uncle. So I guess it was always inevitable that I was going to go into that, which I did. And obviously left that then once Onslaught kind of took off, But with the situation in the music industry these days, where you don't earn substantial amounts of money to live off of like you did in the past from your album sales, I've kind of reformed, or I started a construction company back in the mid-90s after Onslaught split, I've been doing that ever since. I mean, I do a lot of work for disabled people, adaptations to their houses to make their lives easier, so that they can get in and out of the house or move around the house a lot easier. So it's kind of rewarding work, and it's something I really enjoy. And obviously, being self-employed, it allows me as much time away from work to go on tour with Onslaught as I need, really. So it works great.
Please discuss with us how you interact and respond to the fans in social media and the soon-to-be-released, the new album. What is everybody saying about the band with the new release in social media?
The response, obviously, it was a very big and it's a very big deal changing vocalists right before an album, So we were obviously a bit apprehensive about that. So I thought the best way to introduce Dave, one of the singer, was to put out the most extreme track on the album, just to give people a real taste of what this record's about. So we put out Religious Suicide, obviously, controversial lyrically, very old school but modern at the same time track, super aggressive, and that was it. I mean, I can honestly say that we've not had one bad comment about Dave joining the band. Obviously, people are going to miss Side and say, "Oh, sad to see him go," but Dave's incredible. New material's incredible, and that was it. Basically, it could have been bad for the band, but I think we've made everything work in our favour, and the fans seem to be loving it, which is of course the main thing.
What does the music mean to you personally, and what's some of your memorable moments all these years being in Onslaught?
I mean, the music's everything. It's a release of aggression to start with, both lyrically and musically. And I think as I get older, I seem to get angrier. You tend to understand situations a little more, and you look a little deeper into situations, what's going on in your life and around the world, and what affects your life, which for me makes me extremely angry because I've got the punk attitude in me from when I was a kid, and it's never gone. And I do get really pissed off about things, and I want to speak out about it. And what better way to do that is being a thrash metal band, The lyrics on this album are particularly more political or outspoken than before, which reflects on the music. I mean, that pumps me up to make the music even more aggressive as well. So, for me, it's I'm really enjoying writing the new material. So,
what advice would you give to new and upcoming bands that want to play thrash metal for a living?
There's a lot of competition out there, for sure. So my advice always is to say, when you come out with your first material, it has to be the best you can get it. Now, whether that takes you 6 months, whether it takes you 1 year or 2 years to get 3 songs and 4 songs perfect before you unleash that on the world, on Facebook, to a record company, to anyone, it has to be perfect. If that means going over and over and over that song, make sure it's right, because you only get one chance. If you send out some songs, they're kind of getting cool, but they're not quite there. If you send them out to people, that's your one and only chance, because they will not come back to you again if it doesn't blow them away. So that's my advice. You really need to work on the whole package these days. The image of the band, how it looks, the photos down to the finest detail, the artwork, everything has to be perfect, because there's so many bands out there looking for that little door to open that you're looking for as well.
Who are some of the new wave of thrash metal bands that you like, that you hear, or open for you before? Who do you like to hear in 2020, as far as new wave thrash metal bands on the scene?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Havoc are a very cool band. Very nice guys too. We met them in Europe last year or the year before. Very cool band. I really like what they're doing and their approach to things. So I think for me they're kind of top. Warbringer brought out a new good record, I believe. Another band I like a lot. We've toured with also. So yeah, those are the two guys that are really happening for me at the moment, personally.
Okay, please tell us where we can buy the music. Give a plug on your websites where we can buy music.
Yeah, hopefully Amazon is going to be, in the US, is going to be the one of the main places, of course. But you can come to our website, which is www.onslaughtuk.com, where you will find links to absolutely everything. There'll be merch, links, album sales all across the world. So I think that the new sites have been running as from this week. So there'll be all kinds of information to everything Onslaught available there. And of course on Facebook, Onslaught UK as well. So you get any information you need.
Please give shout-outs to all your fans and your new fans to be. What would you like to say to them that are listening?
Well, first of all, guys, be safe and take care of yourselves, because we want to see you all when we come to the States next year. And thank you so much for your support over the years. It's been incredible, and long may it continue. The new album is very much Onslaught 1986, Onslaught 2020. Perfect combination of two, extremely aggressive, angry music for angry people. So please check it out, guys. I'm sure you'll not be disappointed. And really look forward to seeing you all 2021.
In closing here, Nige, it's been a pleasure and an honor having you on the show with us here tonight, Joker's Electric Circus at Metal Messiah Radio. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule for doing this interview with us. The best of luck to you of the guys of Onslaught, and you're more than welcome to come back on the show when the next offering comes out, okay?
Awesome, brother. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed the chat, and I shall take you up. Back down to the Clowns, as I mentioned, is my my take on the British government over the past couple of years with the Brexit situation and now the coronavirus. They're expecting the population of the UK to bow down to them, which I, for one, am not doing, but they are the Clowns. And a lot of people are bowing down for some strange reason, as bizarre as that is. But yeah, they are the Clowns, and we ain't bowing down. But Generation Antichrist is my question. If you read the lyrics, it's a series of contradictory questions, questioning the validity of religion in 2020. For me, it carries no weight whatsoever, and I personally think we will have a religion or Christianity free world within the next 50 years. So yeah, that's what it's about.
All right, thank you so much again, Nigel, and Nige, thank you again, and as I like to say, keep on thrashing!
I will, man, for sure. Thanks, J0KeR.